Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of ATP, Ask the Pastor. I'm Pastor Joshua Sullivan at Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Kerrville, Texas. Do me a favor, if this is your first time visiting the channel, make sure and click that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes of Ask the Pastor. Today's question: Dear Pastor, are there scriptural reasons for a believer to reject vaccination? Also, I keep hearing a theory that the COVID vaccine may be the mark of the beast. All right, so real simply, there's only one reason to reject vaccination, and that's one's conscience. There's nothing in Holy Scripture that prohibits Christians from choosing to be vaccinated. One of the most popular religious objections I've heard to the COVID vaccines is based on the use of fetal cell lines taken from abortions, which have been used then in the research and development of the COVID-19 vaccines. Now, this makes some Christians fear that by accepting the vaccine, they're participating in the sins of others, particularly the sin of abortion, the sin of infant murder. Now, it needs to be said that these fetal cell lines that are used have been grown in a laboratory. They descend from cells taken from two abortions in the Netherlands, one in 1973, the other in about 1985. And the cells from those abortions have multiplied several times over the decades and are now thousands of generations removed from those original fetal tissue cells. Now, this means that the COVID vaccines don't employ fetal cell lines from recent abortions. It's also helpful to know then that the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines did not use fetal cell lines in the development or the production stages of their vaccines, only in the testing phase. Now, does this mean that it's a sin to get the COVID vaccine? Does it make you a partaker in the sin of two abortions, or just a partaker or a supporter of abortion in general? And no, of course not. It's not sin to get the COVID vaccine, nor does getting vaccinated make you culpable for those two abortions or any other abortions. Now, the Roman Church, which is generally pro-life, stated that when ethically irreproachable COVID vaccines are not available, it is morally acceptable to receive COVID-19 vaccines that have used cell lines from aborted fetuses in their research and production process. The reasoning in this is that even though accepting a vaccine to them is a passive cooperation in the evils of abortion, the grave danger of the pandemic suspends Christians' moral obligations. Now, I'm uncomfortable with this line of thinking then, that an emergency suspends one's moral obligations. And really, I think that there's a much simpler way to go with this. So a fellow pastor of mine, he likened this to a garden growing in a graveyard. Now, some of the people buried in that graveyard died from natural causes. Others who were buried there were murdered. But eating the fruit that grows from the garden in the graveyard doesn't make you a partaker in those murders. Now, another suggestion about the COVID vaccine that shouldn't concern Christians is that it may be the mark of the beast. And I'm glad you brought this up then, because I've heard this as well. The mark of the beast from Revelation chapter 13. When we compare the COVID vaccines, however, to the mark of the beast in Revelation 13, we'll see that these two things can't even be compared. It would be like comparing apples and video games. So here's what St. John says about the mark of the beast in Revelation 13, 16 through 18. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. Now, the only reason that I can tell that people have even suggested that the COVID vaccines are the mark of the beast is because of the similarity with the words, no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast. Some employers are mandating that their employees be vaccinated. As of this recording, the city of Los Angeles has enacted the most stringent vaccine mandate, which according to NBC News requires proof of shots for everyone entering a wide variety of businesses, from restaurants to shopping malls to theaters to nail and hair salons. Didn't know shopping malls still existed. So while this may vaguely resemble the words about the necessity of the mark in Revelation in order to buy and sell, it doesn't fit John's description of the mark of the beast. Vaccination isn't forced upon everyone, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave. Vaccination isn't a mark on your forehead or your right hand. If it is, then the person administering did it very poorly. The mark is synonymous with the beast's name and number, which John gives us as 666, which is in no way associated with the vaccine. It also then needs to be remembered that this mark is the mark of the beast from the earth, the religious beast, the Antichrist, not the political beast from the sea. So the mark of the beast in Revelation mimics the seal that the saints of God receive in Revelation chapter 7. The seal with which God seals his people is invisible and identifies them as saints of God. Faith. So the mark of the beast, too, then, is invisible and identifies them as adherents of the Antichrist. Now, if this isn't the mark of the beast, then, what could be the mark of the beast? Well, one traditional Lutheran answer that Johann Gerhard describes is that the mark of the beast, then, is the profession of the papist religion. He writes in his annotations on Revelation, "For these three phrases, the mark, the name of the beast, and the number of his name, all signify one and the same thing, namely the profession of the papistic religion." Now, how did Gerhard get there? Well, the beast from the earth is the Antichrist, and his number is 666. As we've stated elsewhere, the papacy fits the marks of the Antichrist that Paul outlines in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It arises in Rome, assuming all the authority of the Roman Empire after its fall. Now, as for the number 666, ancient Hebrew and Greek used letters to represent numerals, so that names could have numerical value. And the practice of assigning numerical value to names is called gematria. Irenaeus of Lyon, writing in the mid to late 2nd century, offered several suggestions about who that number signified. And important to remember, it is a who, since it is the number of a man, Revelation 13:18. Now, he lists several suggestions. One suggestion is that the name is Latinos, has the number 666, and it is a very probable solution, he writes. This being the name of the last kingdom of the four seen by Daniel. For the Latins are they who at present bear rule. I will not, however, make any boast over this coincidence. So far, Irenaeus. Now, Gerhard continues then. The Pope has the seat of his kingdom in Latium, since Italy was once called Latium. He commands the sacraments to be administered and the divine service to be celebrated in the Latin language, even in those places where the people do not know Latin. He prefers the Latin edition of the Bible to the original text, and he disseminates his bulls and decrees in Latin. Now, some of those reasons are no longer factors. Rome no longer mandates that the Mass be said in Latin, since Vatican II, and even more recently, Pope Francis has restricted the use of the Latin Mass. But the seat of the Roman Church is still Rome, thus the name Roman Catholic Church. The mark, therefore, probably refers to like Gerhard says, the profession of the papist religion. It's a mark on the forehead and the right hand, signifying that one's intellect and the work of one's hands, then, are devoted to the Roman religion. Bottom line in all this is that there's no scriptural mandate for Christians to reject vaccination or to choose vaccination. Rather, St. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 20, "Glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." So, evaluate the pros and the cons of the vaccine just like you would for any other vaccine or any other medical treatment. And then, having evaluated the pros and cons, make a decision that you believe honors God with your body. Commit the decision to God in prayer and trust that that decision is going to be God-pleasing because you do it to glorify God in your body. That's the COVID vaccine, and no, it's not the mark of the beast. Thanks for asking. We'll see you next time on ATP Ask the Pastor.